Hello and welcome to Valuechain News. I am Naomi Oleribe. First, the headlines. Labour writes governors on need to stop fuel importation. Federal government halts subsidy removal, exonerates Buhari. Nigeria and Egypt begin bilateral talks on power supply. And now, the news in detail. Importation of petroleum products should be stopped forthwith by the federal government because it is akin to handing over our national sovereignty to other climes, the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has stated. The Congress argued that it was foolhardy for the government to think it could regulate the price of a product it does not produce. It berated the government for continuing to pay subsidies on petroleum products, thereby abandoning the nation's refineries after spending $9.5 billion on their turnaround maintenance and greenfield refineries between 2012 and now. The NLC stated this in a letter to the governors as key members of the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo-led National Economic Council. The council had recommended that the pump price of fuel be increased from 162 naira to 302 naira per litre. The letter, jointly signed by NLC President Ayuba Waba and General Secretary Emmanuel Ubaja, stated Thursday's planned protest will go ahead because an increase in petroleum product price, whether now or in the future, would inflict more hardship on Nigerians. It warned that workers would have no other choice than to down tools anytime the government decided to impose another round of petrol price hike. The Congress accused the government of failing to honor an agreement with the organized labor on the freezing of further increases in the pump prices. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Tim Silva, has distanced President Muhammadu Buhari from the planned removal of fuel subsidy. Silva disclosed that Buhari does not support the removal of fuel subsidy. Featuring on Channel's News Night, the minister said the federal government planned to complete consultations before coming out with a clear policy direction on fuel subsidy removal. Silva said, "I would tell you categorically that at this moment, the complete removal of subsidy is not on our plate at all. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is not in support of removing subsidy at this time." Recall that the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, had last year hinted at the federal government removing the subsidy on fuel. Ahmed has said that the government will commence the complete removal of fuel subsidy in June 2022 and replace same with a 5,000 naira a month transportation grant to the poorest Nigerians. However, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan last week said Buhari has not directed relevant authorities to remove fuel subsidy. The federal government has announced the setting up of infrastructure fund for the midstream and downstream sector targeted at developing gas infrastructure to actualize auto gas transition as alternative to petrol. Auto gas conversion was part of the structure which the government planned to put in place towards full deregulation for alternative means to reduce the impact of the fuel subsidy removal on Nigerians. It was disclosed by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Tim Silva, during a meeting with oil marketers on compressed natural gas auto gas transition program on Monday in Abuja. The meeting was organized to discuss private sector's engagements and structures to put in place before subsidy removal and strategies on how to deploy natural gas vehicles within the shortest time frame. Silva told the oil marketers that the midstream and downstream regulatory authorities already had infrastructure development fund targeted at developing the sector. So there will be some collaboration between you and the infrastructure fund to set things up for auto gas conversation. We will bring out the fund along with some countries' original equipment manufacturers to hook up and access, he said. Mr. Olumide Adeosun, Chief Executive Officer, Ardova PLC, and Chairman, Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, Moman, was full of praise for the decision to use CNG cars as a remedy towards escalating costs of fuel and to soften impact of deregulation on Nigerian citizens. Adeosun explained that so far it has set up a working group on how best to implement the conversion to determine the scope of feasibility, supply and demand, including infrastructure, finance and investment. The federal government, represented by the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, has held a follow-up meeting with Egyptian authorities in an effort to boost electricity supply, including renewable energy in Nigeria. During the talks with the Egyptian ambassador to Nigeria, Ehad Awad, which was held in Abuja, Aliyu affirmed the commitment of the federal government to see that Nigerians have efficient power supply in the nearest future. He informed the meeting that the government of Nigeria signed a power project deal with a Germany-based firm in 2019, which he said has brought together Nigeria's Ministry of Power, Bureau of Public Enterprises (BPE), Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC), the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN), and the electricity distribution companies (DISCOs) in search of solutions to the country's power challenges. The deal is to deliver up to 25,000 megawatts of electricity to the national grid in phases, and the federal government desires more of such partners, he explained. Aliyu stated that the anticipated area of cooperation between Egypt's Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy and Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Power may include the areas of provision of technical support in transmission and distribution networks, promotions, as well as in the renewable energy system in the electricity sector. Responding, the Egyptian ambassador Awad said the country and Nigeria will complement each other and highlighted the government's efforts to see improvements in the energy sector. China will appropriately control its total energy consumption and cut the energy consumption per unit of gross domestic product by 13.5% by 2025, compared with the 2020 level, to lay a solid foundation for achieving carbon neutrality. This is contained in a 5-year plan on energy conservation and emission reduction released by the State Council. Policies and mechanisms for conserving energy and reducing emission will be improved. The energy use efficiency and the control of the discharge of major pollutants in key industries will basically reach advanced international levels, and notable progress should be made in the green transformation of economic and social development, it said. 10 major projects, including the green upgrading in key industries, emission reduction in communication and logistic industries, and the clean and efficient use of coal, will be launched with clear targets. China has announced that it will strive to peak carbon dioxide emissions by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry (LCCI) has commended the Central Bank of Nigeria on the introduction of e-evaluator and e-invoicing for imports and exports, noting that it will enhance trade transactions and boost revenue. In a statement made available to newsmen yesterday, the Director General (LCCI), Dr. Chinyere Almona, stated the objective for the introduction of e-evaluator and e-invoicing for imports and exports by CBN are quite commendable, as it is expected to facilitate trade transactions, boost revenues through more accurate invoicing, and reduce processing time for import and export forms. The application of a global price verification mechanism guided by a benchmark price is also commendable. As we transit to a more automated system, there is need to increase our investment in digital infrastructure to support the innovative digital products that are emerging in the country. We also encourage the federal government to automate more processes to reduce human interface as a way of curtailing corruptive tendencies in our trade chain. Almona, however, said there should be a pilot phase to help identify potential challenges and deal with them before the commencement date of 1st of February, which is only 10 days from the issuance of the guideline, noting that it does not give sufficient time for proper transition. Before we end the news, here's a recap of our headlines. Labour writes governors on need to stop fuel importation. FG Hot subsidy removal exonerates Buhari. Nigeria and Egypt begin bilateral talks on power supply. And that's the news. I am Naomi Oleribe. Good evening.